All right, hello and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a minute again since I've done a review, but here we are back in full swing, full review, no shortcuts, no nothing. This is a full-length review. It's going to be a long one because today we are talking about The Weeknd's last album, Hurry Up Tomorrow. This is, of course, the first real major release of any artist in 2025, and I'm not sure it'll get much bigger than this. This is, like I said, The Weeknd has claimed that this is his last project. So this had some major shoes to fill, especially After Hours and Dawn FM, his previous two works that finish out this trilogy. There was very high expectations. I personally, I didn't have the highest expectations, not because I didn't like those projects, not because I didn't think The Weeknd could fill those shoes, but when you claim that something is going to be your final project and is then out to a trilogy and there's just this many eyes on it, I think it's really easy to fumble that bag. But luckily, The Weeknd has exceeded my expectations by a million times. As soon as this album starts to the last second of it finishing, I think that this is an exhilarating ride and a perfect send-off for The Weeknd to end his career off of. Whether he continues music under a different name or not, like his, if he continues under his actual name of Abel, or if he comes up with a new moniker to go under, I think that for the Weeknd character, this is just perfect. It is perfection. He takes aspects from every single one of his past eras and puts it into this. He takes his features that he's best known for and most beloved from fans and puts it in here. And I think overall it's just so well rounded, this whole entire project. You have so many different blends of genres, you have so many different styles that he sings in, you have so much going on, but yet it feels so cohesive. And this album is 22 songs, with only two of those being actual like interludes. So 20 full-length songs, and it doesn't feel like it wastes any time, which I know something I say about a lot of albums, but it's so true. I think that wasting time and wasting potential is something that happens far too often in the music industry, especially nowadays. And The Weeknd made sure he did not do that on any of these tracks. I think that from start to finish, every single track does what it needs to, and you put them together perfectly. There are seamless transitions. There are exciting and exhilarating highs and lows to each track. Right from the start, Wake Me Up, I mean, it feels super ominous. It feels dark and eerie. And then when the synth comes in towards the middle-ish part, and you have it's the interpolated synths from Thriller that come in. Oh, it's so riveting. I still, like, every time I listen through this album, I just wait for that part because I know what's coming and how exciting it is. It's just so great. And I think that Justice did a fantastic job producing that track. It's so damn sweet, and just what a way to start this thing off. Cry For Me, I think right now is one of the biggest songs on here. Personally, it's not one of my top ones. Like I said, I think that every song on here is amazing, but personally, this is not one of my top ones, but I can see why. It is definitely a big hit and anthem for The Weeknd, and I think that this one will have massive staying power. I think I also have to mention the fact of the first single, at least that comes up in the track list, which is Sao Paulo, comes up at track 4 after the first interlude. And when Sao Paulo first released, as well as Timeless, I wasn't huge on the singles. I thought they were fine. I thought Timeless was a bit easier to listen to, a bit more simple, to put it plainly. But Sao Paulo I really wasn't huge on, as well as I know a lot of other people. But I think in the context of the project, it fits so well. And I know some people still say, oh, it sticks out from the rest. It's so different. It shouldn't have been on here. But personally, I think that it does great. I think that it is such a dynamic detour from the rest of the songs that I think it just actually does really well with how different it is. The Brazilian funk that is introduced into it is really well done, and Anita, the feature, does super well. I actually didn't realize it was a feature until like a couple weeks ago when I saw someone say that. I thought it was a sample, and I think that this is one of the songs that I also look forward to most coming on when I'm listening to this album in full as well. I also really think that the next like 5 or 6 tracks, shit, maybe even like 7 or 8, is so exhilarating, from Baptized in Fear all the way to Timeless. I think is so fun. I think that Baptized in Fear is such a somber detour after Sao Paulo, which is super exciting and invigorating and so in your face and abrasive. Excuse me. And Baptized in Fear is just so down low, and The Weeknd, you just feel at multiple points on this project where he is just at his lowest, and Baptized in Fear is one of those moments. But the way that it transitions from Baptized in Fear into Open Hearts is so perfect. I mean, I kind of wish that it lasted, that Baptized in Fear was a little bit longer, so that way when you actually play Open Hearts, it didn't just start mid-note. But that's a tiny little critique, and honestly, it's not going to affect my score at all. But that's just like when I'm listening to a song individually, I kind of wish that, because when you start Open Hearts, it's literally mid-note from The Weeknd. But that's all right. And then I think Open Hearts is super exciting. The sort of electronic dance drop that comes during the chorus, I think it is one of his best vocal performances on the project in general, and this is definitely in my top 3 favorite songs on here. I think that this is easily, in my opinion, the most fun song on this entire project. While I know the project isn't meant to be like, oh, this is something you just put on to have fun to. It's like The Weeknd still does know how to make bangers and how to make songs that are super fun and just that you can listen to anywhere, and this is one of those tracks. I also really love the sort of, it could be considered an interlude considering it's just over a minute and a half, but Opening Night, which I still think is really well, and then that goes right into Reflections Laughing, which is this really introspective song, which is all about The Weeknd and his drug habits, which he has talked about so often on his albums. Not like that's a bad thing, because it is something real that he clearly struggles with. And Reflections Laughing is talking about sort of, this whole album is him talking about how he finally has come to full realization of how bad his lifestyle has been for him, and this is one of those songs that really highlights that, and specifically the drug portion of that. And I think that Travis Scott coming in for the second half, that long second verse that he's got, which is sort of him being The Weeknd, but under the influence with his distorted vocals, is really well done. And just having that kind of full circle moment of The Weeknd being on every Travis Scott album, and then finally him having Travis Scott on one of his, is really nice. Then I think that track 10, Enjoy the Show, with Future, is also really well done. Again, another long-time collaborator, of course, a fan favorite from so many people, which is Future. I think also comes in great. It is a fantastic follow-up to Reflections Laughing. I think that Future, his singing that he has on here is really nice. I know some people, it's not for them. Personally, I like when he gets melodic like this. I think it fits in super well on here, and I think also his little contribution he has on the next song is great as well. Just that back-to-back, I think that The Weeknd and Future always just pair up really nicely, and the difference in their vocals really helps with that, and just the contrast between the two is amazing in such a way that it's so seamless. And I think that hopefully we get more songs from them. That's really what I hope, because I do not want this to be the last. Coming up is my next 2 favorite songs on here. Given Up on Me, which is a super kind of like soul R&B based song, and then I Can't Wait to Get There is almost a Not like a Chipmunk Soul, but in a way like a Chipmunk Soul type of rap song. Even though he's not really rapping on here, he's kind of like in that melodic area still. But I loved the sample that they actually created. I thought it was going to be a original sample, but no, it is one that they made. It's a guy actually singing on here the "I Can't Wait to Get There" portion of it. I think it's super catchy. That's my favorite song on here. It's the one I look forward to most. I think that it's massively underrated as well. I don't see like nearly enough people talking about it, or really people at all talking about it. And I think "Giving Up on Me" is a super great transition into that song. After that is Timeless. Like I said, wasn't a massive fan of it when it came out. I think that as the album got closer, I liked it a little bit more. Maybe because I saw people talking about it so much, and I gave it another listen. But I think it fits greatly in the context of the album. The Weeknd. This is almost the one track where he kind of takes a step back, and instead of being in the storyline of like this project, he is talking about basically how much he has achieved in his career. This is him being braggadocious. This is him not necessarily being full of himself, but him being able to look in the mirror and be like, I actually did this. I built this from the ground up. I became the biggest artist in the world on my own. Didn't need anyone's help. Didn't have to sign to some other artist label for promotion. Most of his albums, he doesn't like flood his albums with features. It's just mostly him across them. And this is him just kind of raveling in it. And I think it's a great thing to have for your last project, is to be able to look at yourself and be like, I am worthy of this. I did this. I built this. And that is what Timeless is. And as well as doing that, it doesn't feel super triumphant, but it feels super fun and just so upbeat. And I think that it is a great break from the sort of depressing tone, especially for the last leg of this album. Because even though we have quite a few songs after this, it is definitely a step down in the happiness area. The rest of this album is definitely really depressing. When you have songs like Niagara Falls or Take Me Back to LA, which talk about where he came from and where he wants to go with his life in the future. Obviously, Take Me Back to LA is a reference to the After Hour song, um, Take Me Out of LA. Is that what it's called, or something like that? So, Niagara Falls, obviously being, it's half in New York and half in Canada, and him kind of talking like that being a reference to where he came from. And so that is a massive thing of, just his artistry and how big he is and where he came from, kind of being disconnected and wanting to go back. Big Sleep, I think, is also massively underrated on here. Giorgio Moroder really helps with his contribution. I think that his vocoder that he has on his voice is super eerie and fits really well into this. And just the Weeknd on this song embracing sort of the death of this character. And then on the next track, Give Me Mercy, which goes directly with this narratively, where he is like talking to God, where he's like, give me mercy in this death. I want this life to be over. I don't want to live in this sin anymore. I think that these two pair up so well. And you could just tell from listening to these two back to back. And even with Niagara Falls and Take Me Back to LA, you can tell that there is just this clear intention where he is putting this through line in, and it's just simple perfection. It's done so well. And I think Big Sleep honestly could have been one of the last songs on here, like towards the actual end. But we still have a couple more to go. After Give Me Mercy, we have Drive, which is The Weeknd also kind of adding on to the last couple tracks where he is talking about moving on to the next chapter in his life, and ending this one where he is just embracing the move and embracing the change in his life, no matter how scared he might be or how different it could be from what he has right now. The Abyss is kind of narratively a little bit of a step away, but still aesthetically fits into the project, where it is talking about him and a lover who I guess a lot of people were saying is his ex. It's like Bella Hadid or something. I'm pretty sure that's who it is, a model or something like that. I guess a lot of people are saying like any of the love songs on here, the few that there are references to her, as well as the voicemail that is on Reflections Laughing with Travis Scott. I don't personally care about who it is directly about, but still, that Lana Del Rey feature at the end is absolutely killer. Her vocals, the way they just stretch out at the end, is just so like intense. It's so grandiose, and it is just a wonder to behold on this track. And just her being the final feature on here, I think, is super fitting. Is obviously, like I said before, he chose his features, I feel like, extremely intentionally. He had Lana Del Rey, Playboy Cardi, Travis Scott, and Future, who I feel like he chose because of his repertoire with them. And, well, I guess Playboy Cardi, he hasn't like really worked with him a ton, but it was something people were asking for. But Lana Del Rey, Future, Travis Scott, I think he chose because the fans just love their work with him so much, and he was like, here, like, this is for the fans. This is the people I choose. These are my longtime friends, my longtime collaborators, and Lana Del Rey fits perfectly into that. I also want to say, when it comes to the other features that are on here, Giorgio Moroder, I think, was just chosen because of his prevalence in the electronic music scene. Big Sleep, I think he fits super well into. So that kind of doesn't really fit in as well as Florence the Machine, who helps with Reflections Laughing. She doesn't have like her own like big feature on it, but I think that Justice was kind of the Weeknd being like, well, I would get Daft Punk on here, but since they're technically not around anymore and they're split, I'll just kind of go for the next best electronic duo that's around, and that's Justice. And I think they really hold that position really well, and they fill the shoes greatly of what Daft Punk would have done on here had they still been around and had the Weeknd chosen them, which I think he would have. But yeah, Lana Del Rey, that feature is just insane. The way her vocals stretch out at the end of that track and the way it ends off is so heavenly. It just feels so like big. I don't really know another word. It feels like it's just filling this like huge empty space, and it's just her in this building that's just belting out these vocals, and it's absolutely just so phenomenal. Red Terror, I think, is also narratively a fantastic song, where I think that The Weeknd, people are saying he's just talking about his mother. I think that specifically when it comes to the chorus, it is The Weeknd singing from the perspective of his mother talking to him, and The Weeknd has always been open about his mother being such a prevalent part of his life. Her always being there for him, and the Red Terror is really just his mother looking at him and being like, I will support you in whatever you do, no matter how dark it gets, no matter how light it gets, I am here for you. And I think that, again, like I said, for the finale of his career, of the character of The Weeknd, it fits so well. His mother stayed by his side from beginning to end. She did not falter. She stood by him, and it fits greatly. And I think being towards the end makes it so much more emotional going through this whole thing. Without a Warning and Hurry Up Tomorrow are, I think, just back to back such great send offs. They work so nicely together. I almost wish they would have been one super long track. Again, like I said, the transitions on here are great. I really cannot express enough how just well crafted The Weeknd made all the transitions onto this project. At some points on here, you almost can't even tell when some songs begin and some songs end. Like, for instance, when you have Baptized in Fear into Open Hearts, it is just the most seamless transition. And when I was listening to it, I had no idea that the song had even changed, because I'm not like sitting there looking at my phone the entire time being like, okay, let's watch for the song to change. It's like, no. I'm like listening to it. I'm taking it in. I have my headphones on. and it flows perfectly. Same thing for Reflections Laughing and Enjoy the Show. Is it as seamless? Maybe not, but still, if you're like not like waiting for that specific key change, the specific switch in song and like specific style, you won't catch a lot of these changes if you are not looking. It's just super well done, and I cannot give The Weeknd enough praise for just how great of work he really put into this. I truly feel this is his magnum opus, and this is his wonder to behold in his entire career. He has fantastic bodies of work before this, but this is really, I think, what is going to withhold his legacy. While After Hours, I know, is beloved by a lot of fans, this personally takes the cake for my number one album of his. It just rounds out this end trilogy so well. I think people are calling it the Afterlife trilogy, I believe, with After Hours, Dawn FM, and Hurry Up Tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, really, this thing is just great. And I can't speak well enough about it. Like I said, I have listened to this thing probably like 20 times since it has come out. Um, January 31st. Yeah, it's been like not even a month as of me recording it, and I've listened to it so much. Like every other day, I'm listening to this project, and I'm just taking it all in, and I'm loving every piece of it. I am not getting tired. An hour and a half. This album is almost an hour and a half, and I still do not falter from it. I still don't think that it gets weak at any point. I think that every single moment in here feels intentional. The deep synths in here, the guitar that comes in at certain points, the heavy drums, like I said, the features. Oh my god, it's just all perfect. And spoiler alert, I think that this album is perfect. I just think it is, and while that might be a hot take to a lot of people, I just can't see myself rating it anything other than that. My enjoyment of this project is perfect. Yeah. I guess I could do the highest highs, even though I did that in reverse, but why not?
For best performance on here, I think that's actually extremely tough. I think that The Weeknd just has so much that he puts on in this entire project. But man, I think this is the one that I find hardest to give out, because I think he is solid throughout this entire thing. But personally, I think I'm going to give it to Open Hearts. I think that he just really, some of the notes that he hits on here, I think are the best that he does. Well, I don't think, again, like I don't think he falters at all through here. That's, I think, just my favorite performance of his. Best production, I think I also have to give to Open Hearts, although Wake Me Up is probably a close second. I think that one is just so insane, and just what Justice did on there is so electric and so unique, and also the Thriller interpolation and kind of sample really holds off well and is so exciting to hear, especially that first time through is just wow. Best songwriting, I think I'm going to give it to Red Terror. I love The Weeknd talking through the perspective of his mother to him. I think it's really harrowing. I think it's a great sort of full circle moment for his career with his mother sticking by his side. And just the writing on there, I really think it hits hard. Personally, for me. Maybe some people would disagree. Best feature performance, though, is actually... I would say it's hard, but it's kind of not. I think it falls between two people, and it's either Giorgio Moroder or Lana Del Rey, and it just comes down to kind of preference, but also Giorgio Moroder. I cannot say his name for the life of me unless I'm speaking super slow. His part's a little bit smaller, even though I do love what it adds to Big Sleep. When you just compare it to the Lana Del Rey feature, it's just like night and day for her and anyone else. Just the way her vocals just ring off. I know I talked about it earlier, but just the way they ring off, and she holds those notes. Oh, it's just insane. And yeah, like I said, it's a wash when it comes to her and any of the other features. So, yeah, I feel like that's kind of all I have to say. I mean, I love this album, and this is going to be really hard to beat for album of the year because so far, I mean, like not much has released, but like I said, I rate my enjoyment for this album at a perfect. So far, this is number one, and so far, I think as of recording this, like the only competition is Lil Baby's new album, which is like not even close to this. Um, yeah, this album is just amazing. It's perfect from start to finish. There is just nothing for me to complain about. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you have an album that you think I should review in the future, let me know. Have any critiques, let me know. I want to get back to making videos a little bit more often now that we're like done with February. Hopefully the rest of the year I'll be on here more. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye now.